This pattern explains every creative genius in history. Eric Weiner discovered why certain places produce brilliance while others don't. The secret isn't talent, it's something far more surprising. In his groundbreaking book The Geography of Genius, Eric Weiner makes a claim that sounds almost absurd. Throughout human history, creative genius has erupted not randomly across the globe, but in concentrated bursts, specific places, specific times. Ancient Athens in the 5th century BCE. Florence during the Renaissance. Vienna in 1900. Silicon Valley today. These weren't coincidences. Weiner argues something revolutionary: genius is not born, it's grown. And the soil matters more than the seed. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. He identified a pattern, a recipe, almost, that these creative hotspots share across thousands of years. The ingredients might surprise you. They have nothing to do with genetics or education funding. What they share is far stranger. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why your environment might be the single biggest factor determining your creative potential. Athens in the 5th century BCE was a miracle wrapped in marble. In a city of roughly 40,000 citizens, smaller than most modern suburbs, you had Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Sophocles, Euripides, Aristophanes, Thucydides, and Pericles. All walking the same streets. All breathing the same air. Statistically, this is impossible. But here's the real insight. Weiner discovered that Athens wasn't successful despite its chaos, it was successful because of it. The Greeks had a word, agon. It means contest, struggle, creative conflict. Every poet competed publicly. Every philosopher debated in the agora. Every idea was tested through argument. If you couldn't defend your thinking, you were humiliated publicly. And this is where it gets powerful. This wasn't comfortable. It was brutal. But it created something no safe environment ever could, ideas that survived because they were strong enough to withstand attack. The Athenians didn't just tolerate disagreement. They institutionalized it. And that changes everything about how we should think about creativity. Florence in 1400 was chaos incarnate. And that's precisely why it worked. What the author reveals next is brilliant. The Medicis didn't create genius by funding safe projects. They created collision. They brought together painters, sculptors, architects, poets, philosophers, and scientists in the same rooms. Leonardo da Vinci wasn't just a painter, he was forced to compete with Michelangelo while consulting with mathematicians and arguing with anatomists. But here's the thing. Florence had something Athens lacked: patronage with pressure. The Medicis gave money, but they demanded results. They wanted their city to be remembered forever. And this created a paradox that Weiner identifies as crucial. Creative freedom combined with external accountability. You could experiment wildly, but you had to produce. Deadlines existed. Reputations were at stake. The Renaissance wasn't a vacation for artists. It was a pressure cooker where the heat never stopped. Comfort never produces masterpieces. Discomfort with resources does. Hangzhou, China, around 1100 CE. This was the world's largest city, over 1 million people when London had barely 15,000. And it produced innovations that wouldn't reach Europe for centuries. Printing, gunpowder, the compass, paper money. But the most important lesson is this. The Chinese approach was radically different from Athens or Florence. In Hangzhou, creativity wasn't born from conflict, it emerged from something the West would consider useless: contemplation. The Song dynasty valued what they called wu wei, effortless action through non-action. Scholars spent years watching rivers and painting mountains. They wrote poetry about emptiness. To Western eyes, this looks like wasted time. Think about that for a second. We assume creativity requires struggle. But Hangzhou's golden age suggests the opposite might also be true. Sometimes genius needs space to breathe. The Song scholars weren't lazy, they were incubating. And their seemingly impractical contemplation produced the most practical inventions in human history. But everything I just told you, that's just the setup. The wisdom deepens when we consider what Weiner discovered in Edinburgh, because it reveals the dark engine driving all creative golden ages. Scotland in the 1700s should not have produced genius. It was cold, poor, and recently humiliated by failed colonial ventures. Yet Edinburgh gave us David Hume, Adam Smith, James Watt, and the foundation of modern economics, philosophy, and engineering. Here's what nobody expected. Edinburgh's genius emerged from death. Literally. The city had the highest death rate in Europe. Diseases ran rampant. And this proximity to mortality created what Weiner calls urgent creativity. When you might die tomorrow, you don't waste time on trivial ideas. You reach for meaning. You take risks. Edinburgh's philosophers weren't armchair theorists, they were people racing against their own mortality. This transforms everything we think about comfortable modern life. Maybe our safety is actually killing our creativity. Maybe we've removed the very pressure that produces breakthrough thinking. Vienna around 1900 was decay-dressed in silk. The Austro-Hungarian Empire was dying. Everyone knew it. And yet this crumbling city produced Freud, Mahler, Klimt, Wittgenstein, and the foundations of modern psychology, music, and art. What would you have done in their position? And this is where it gets fascinating. The Viennese didn't create despite their empire's collapse, they created because of it. When old systems die, new ideas have space to grow. The coffee houses became laboratories. Anyone could sit for hours arguing about philosophy over a single cup of coffee. Rich debated poor. Scientists talked to artists. The rigid class structures were dissolving, and in that dissolution, unprecedented cross-pollination occurred. Weiner identifies this as the genius of creative destruction. Old certainties dying meant new possibilities being born. The pattern is emerging now. Athens had agon. Florence had pressure. Hangzhou had contemplation. Edinburgh had mortality. Vienna had dissolution. Each golden age needed something to push against. Silicon Valley is the first place in history that tried to engineer a creative hotspot. And what comes next will change how you think about innovation forever. Here's what Weiner discovered. The valley does have the ingredients: collision between disciplines, tolerance for failure, resources for experimentation. But there's a crucial difference from Athens or Florence. Silicon Valley has forgotten the struggle. The agon is gone. Today's tech culture celebrates comfort, free food, massage rooms, play spaces. And Weiner argues this might be Silicon Valley's fatal flaw. The early valley worked because it was garages, and risk, and possible failure. Now it's become too safe, too predictable. The pattern from history is clear: genuine breakthrough requires genuine discomfort. Not performative disruption, actual stakes. When Hewlett and Packard started in a garage, failure meant personal ruin. Today's tech founders have golden parachutes. The question Weiner leaves us with is profound. Can we keep the resources while restoring the genuine pressure? Or has Silicon Valley already peaked without knowing it? Here's the synthesis Weiner builds across all 7 creative hotspots. Every golden age shared 5 elements. First, diversity, different minds colliding in shared spaces. Second, discontent, something pushing against the status quo. Third, resources, not luxury, but enough to experiment. Fourth, tolerance for failure, space to try and fail publicly. Fifth, meaning, a reason beyond money to create. Now you understand why most modern cities feel creatively dead. We've optimized for comfort and predictability. We've removed the friction that genius requires. But the profound insight is this: you don't need to move to recreate these conditions. You need to seek discomfort intentionally. Find people who challenge you. Create stakes for yourself. Stop waiting for permission and start producing. The geography of genius isn't just about place, it's about the conditions we cultivate wherever we are. Athens lives on in every space where ideas clash and survive. Florence exists wherever passion meets deadline. The genius isn't in the map. It's in the choice to embrace creative friction. Now you understand what makes genius flourish, and why comfort might be your creativity's greatest enemy. If this wisdom resonated, subscribe for weekly book insights that transform how you think. Drop in the comments, which creative hotspot from history would you have wanted to live in? And what book should we forge next? The Synopsis Forge turns great books into greater insights. Your creative friction starts now.